Let's find the approximate size, small or medium, based on weight. F9, see what we're trying to do here? See all this stuff here? We're going to use, in the first example, match with an if statement. We're going to use index, match, and if to solve this problem. We have fruit, we have quantity, we have size. What we want to do is we want to find the approximate size, small or medium, based on weights. How are we going to do this? We're going to use some old school. Now, this tutorial will address a lot of the legacy functions that I'm familiar with. Now, keep in mind, I started working with Excel day one, back in 1977, and this is familiar. You can use the newer tools, but the match function and the index match function are appropriate. You can incorporate the X match to do some of the same stuff. Here in this particular example, there's some trickery, if you will. So let's just dive into this thing. Okay, the anatomy. Here's the anatomy. We have the write-up. We have the list. And then we have what we're trying to compute. And that is the approximate size. Now, the critical thing here is the approximation. To get to the approximate size, we have the match function, searches for values in a list and returns its position. We have the if, which if conditions is met, do something, if not, do something else. The match function, it's just going to give us the row. So this doesn't really apply. It's simply an example. The meat and potatoes is here using the index and match. The match function is going to find what? It's going to find the quantity based on apples, okay? The critical thing here is the match options. Let me show you. Without getting into the match, we're going to go into the index match function. Here we have an if error. We want to put an if error there because when you hit F9, there's going to be instances where it just doesn't apply. So we put an if error in there, so it's not applicable. Then instead of showing NA, we're just going to show a blank. In terms of structure, we have index and we have match. What we're concerned with here is the value if not, and that's down here. But let me just point out something that is going to drive you crazy. There's so many things within Excel that are going to drive you crazy, but here's one of that took me a while to figure out, because I was working on an example like this, and what I did is I took this data, and this is old data, and I moved it over to a new program. So I was using an older version of Excel, and I moved up to Excel 2021. That's what I'm using. You can use Office 365. I hate it. All right. Just because it's you're cloud basing everything, and I'd rather have the actual software. So I downloaded Professional 2021 with Excel, and when I did it, Excel goes in and it just screws everything up. They throw in this @ symbol. Okay, it's an explicit function that overrides this spill feature. Again, applaud Microsoft for their attempt, but this @ sign blows up this entire model. All right. They also threw one in here. So let me just give you an example, and it's hard to keep track. Hit F9, and you can see where there should be a value here, this index match. It's not finding a value. Why? Because what we're looking for here is quantity. We're looking for 4, and we're looking for orange, and it should spit out large. But see what happens here? Excel screws everything up. All right. The large should show up here. what we need to do is we need to remove this @ sign. And in some cases, you have to keep it in there because it'll create a spill, an automatic spill, which will create more chaos. That was for the size match. All we're looking for here is size match is just the row. That's just informational. What we're looking for here, size. So get rid of this @ and what we want to look for is peach. We want to look for quantity. So we have peach and we have large. Now, here's how it works. We have quantity 2, but we're looking for an approximate size. So we have to go in here and we have to look. So we have here, we have this value. Then we have value of error. Well, that's what we're trying to find, but how do we determine approximate size? Or in this case, the quantity? Well, if we look here at the match, it says match type optional 1 equals exact or smallest. Default, that's the default. 0 is equal exact match, and -1 exact or next largest. Here we have in match, we can go look up value, which is G5, which is 2. And then if G4 is equal to B5, B10, C510, and then number 1 here is the match type. Remember, we're looking for match type. It's number 1, which would be the next smallest. I know it's a little confusing if this is new to you. So here, because the quantity is 2, we're going down to the next smallest. Now hit F9. We have banana. What we're trying to do is match this. If we switch this over to, let's say, to -1, we hit F9. Oops. We hit F9, just for an example. You can see here now, we're going to look for quantities 2 and above. So here we have plum. See, we have 1 plum, and we're not showing anything here in terms of size. So hit F9 again, and we have apple. We have quantity of 3. So with -1 here, we're looking for anything with 3 and above. So we have apple, and I think I should have changed this to -1. Match. So we're in the same boat here. Here, we're going to go peach. So we have peach, quantity 2. So look over here, and we have peach. And it's going to look for the closest. And you can see we're looking at quantity 2, above 2. So basically, you kind of want to start at the bottom and go up and go peach 2. We're going to go up, and here we have peach. We have quantity 2. We're going to have large. Why? Let's go back. We're going to see match type, -1, exact or next largest. So what's the next largest from 2? Well, it'll be 3. So we have peach 3, and for familiarity, if you want to just know how the match works, match is just looking for the row, as I stated earlier. So it's going to look for row 3, and index is going to spill out large. So if we look at strictly the large function for this calculation, we're going to see index, which returns a value based on its column and row numbers. Match searches for values in a list and returns its position. If condition is met, do something. If not, do something else. Well, ignoring the if error, let's go in and let's see the logical test. G4 is equal to B5 to B10. What does that mean? G4 is what? Peach. And what does it ask for? Well, it's asking for if G4 is equal to, well, the list here in B5 to B10. If it's true, then what are you going to do? We're going to look for the quantity, C5 to C10. Be sure to check out our extensive courses, which include Excel data and text manipulation for advanced users, beginners, intermediate. We also have this great essentials, the A to Z for advanced users, the comprehensive beginner level 1 and 2. Then we have our advanced formulas, strictly formulas, great set of courses, which we have a beginner level 1 and beginner level 2, this intermediate level, and we have this advanced level. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out. So we'll go over here, and it says value if true, value if false. We don't care if there's a value of false. We're just looking for true. If it finds peach, in this case, it's going to find, and it uses -1 to find what? Exact or next match. So now we go into match and we go lookup value. Well, we're looking up what? G5, which is 2. And what happens if we find it? Lookup array will be what? The if. So if there's a true, that is the lookup array. And then the match type is 1. If it's true, what happens? The array D5 to D10 is produced by index, which in this case is large. So what happens if it's false? F9, well, there's false. Why? Because there's no outcome. Index can't find anything. Now we can go in here and we can hit F9, see there's no array. So then we can go into match and we can go into if. And we can look at the logical test and there's nothing. And we can go value of true and this should be blank. All right, logical test, F9. You can see false, true, false, 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 false. If we look at this, we can look at this test here and we can play this out by hitting F9. We can hit this, hit F9. And here we have false, true, false, false, true. What are we looking for? Well, it says if, and we know looking at this expression, G4 excluding the @ sign, if G4 is equal to B5 to B10, all right, so it's asking if there's an apple. Well, yeah, there's an apple here. It shows up as true, and there's your true. But does it pass the next test? And that is, does it meet the quantity? And the question then is, well, it says when we found apple, but we're looking for quantity 3. And Excel is saying, no, that's false. So if we go here to match, we're going to get nothing. Why? Because there's no match. And subsequently, index is going to produce nothing. If we go and look at this from a different angle, we can see match if F9, logical test, F9. We have false, true, false, false, true, true. What are we saying? We're looking for peach. And how many peaches do we see? 1, 2, 3. So the next question is, does it pass the test? Is there a quantity of 2 or more? And we go to match, look up F9, and it says number 2, which would be each number row 2, and then D10 goes medium, small, large, medium, small, small, and then match goes 2, all right, which would be small. And that's what we have. We have an exact match right here in row 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.